All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Sunday night, about 10:25 p.m. California time here. January 12th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity shows a 1.3 into California area. A little bit of movement happening here across the Garlock Fault shear zone, including a near three-pointer just outside of Tehachapi. That's just off of the White Wolf Fault zone, it looks like. Lately, we've been watching quite a bit of earthquake activity here develop around the Garlock Fault shear zone, indicative of the strain that's against the plate boundary here. The result of the strain, I should say. Also, the San Jacinto Fault zone lighting up in a trail of earthquakes up and down almost the entirety of that fault system. Nothing big happening there for now. They can get some earthquakes, decent-sized earthquakes. Nothing like the San Andreas Fault can, though. Still a little bit of swarming going on here across the thermal area. Very shallow crustal quakes. They're happening across that area as a result of the strain here across the San Andreas Fault as well. For Northern California, let's go ahead and check out, see what else is going on there across the Bay Area. Only one aftershock following the 3.5 near Concord this morning. That is off of the Concord Fault. Not a super lengthy fault, but there's some speculation there that extends into the Green Valley Fault up here, which would make it capable of producing a larger earthquake due to the length extension. For now, a couple threes, just an overall sign here of some increasing pressure across the Bay Area as well. The Clear Lake Volcanic Field, well, that's geothermal plants there. For Northern California, let's see, or extreme Northern California here, a couple earthquakes. The last one looks to be a 2.2, 8 o'clock this morning, but if you were looking at my update earlier this morning, that was around 10 or actually 11:30 a.m. here. We noticed a handful of earthquakes showing up there on the seismograph stations, but nothing has been reported yet, and it's just been that way for a little while. They failed to report some of the earthquakes out here on the weekend. Pacific Northwest, that is false because there's really, there's never a time when there's absolutely no earthquake activity occurring out here. And most of the time, they fail to reproduce it on the weekends or on holidays out here for Washington and Oregon. But nothing at least above 2.5 showing up out there. Some movement across Nevada, lighting up out there across the Carson City area southward in a trail of earthquakes. Continuing to watch the West Coast here. I feel like something's definitely brewing out here lately with the activity lately here, I should say. We've seen quite a bit of elevated movement, and it's all pointing to some bigger quake activity here eventually. Yellowstone, nothing. Zip zero. So let me double check the Yellowstone overview and see what we have here. Not a whole lot of anything. Now, this morning here, I'm going to show you guys the charts here, and then I'm going to point out the earthquake that caused that pretty big reading here. It's going to be, I believe it's at 6.2 there in Mexico that showed up across that seismograph station here. That would make sense. That would coincide with the time frame. But looking at this here, this is not your typical seismic wave. I see two distinct events showing up there on all of the seismograph stations from that 6-pointer that struck. So there was one 6.2, 21 miles deep. Was that the only large earthquake out here? 5.4 in Fiji some hours later. But roughly around that time period of 0:30 UTC time, well, that's the only earthquake that I can think of that would show up on the seismograph station, but there's two events here. There's the primary wave, and then it eventually should look like this, just fading off after a while, after the S waves travel around the globe. But there's two distinct marks here, indicating that there was probably two earthquakes out there. Normally it doesn't look like that unless there's two earthquakes, so not for sure why they're only showing one. The EMSC model here, let me double check this and see. These guys are a little glitchy here on their map. Got a swarm going on down there, goodness. So I don't do not like this new layout that they have. I was just seeing if there's anything maybe bigger around that time period following the 6.2, but it doesn't look like it. Looks like the main one here, and I can't even click on it. So it's out of whack. Either that or my hand's too big here for the screen. Either way, interesting signature there on the Yellowstone seismograph stations there. It looks like two distinct earthquakes to me. The question is, where was that second one at? And why is it not showing up on the globe or anywhere else? Could have it been that 5.2? What time was that 5.2? Let me see here. No, that was earlier this afternoon, so it wasn't that. I don't know. I'll have to look into that, see if they post anything on it. But there was two earthquakes, it looks like. Yellowstone or Texas out here, western areas of Texas oil fields still getting hit. Nothing major going on there for now. Rest of the country pretty quiet. And as you've seen there, following that 6.2, a pretty good swarm of activity. Moving its way, migrating northward, it looks like, on the EMSC model. This area can see much bigger earthquakes there than the 6.2, but there's quite a few 3s and 4s in there following that big event. 5.1 down across the Columbia area. Pretty recent activity. That's a little bit further down this way. Actually, it's in Ecuador, a little bit further south here, around the Ecuador Trench. 51 miles deep there for that earthquake. Pretty active conditions out here. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit because I feel the time period here was off a little bit. It should be about the last 24 hours right here on the globe. A bunch of deep activity here across the Philippines, Izu Trench. Nothing yet stirring up here across the Kumano Ridge. I'm waiting on that. That's an interesting area for some large earthquake activity. And it's definitely been under quite a bit of strain here recently. Trail of quakes here across the Java Trench. A bunch of 3s stirring up. New Zealand 3-pointer. Really nothing major going on there for now across the area. We've got Kilauea Volcano out here showing some earthquake activity. So let's see what we got. Actually, it's south of Kilauea around the Pahala area into the deeper regions there of the hot spots. Where's my, there we go. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be back to normal. Inflation chart here, a little can't say a nosedive, it's just a little curvature here following a few days of inflation at Kilauea Volcano. I don't believe that it's an eruptive stage again, but we'll double check and see what we have here across the summit. Still showing some hotspot areas, but no eruption. All right, let's see here. Nothing major going on there across Southern California for now, aside from big fires still going on. We'll check that out here in just a second. I think I have these cough drops handy. Man, not good. It's like eating a bag of candy. I mean, I tried the honey, I tried all that stuff, lemon, and it works for a little bit, but one thing about honey, it gives me some heartburn. Not good. I don't want to do that before bed. Let's see, the Atlantic Ocean, a couple smaller quakes out there. Mediterranean region here, some older movement across the area. The Ethiopia rift boundary is, let's see what we got over here. Last earthquake looks to be a 4.4 earthquake earlier this afternoon. Let me see if I can find their seismograph station here real quick. And yeah, it looks like maybe some other smaller earthquake activity here in the last few hours as well. Nothing big. There's the P wave and probably the S wave in there as well from that 6.2 in Mexico earlier this morning. Way earlier, I should say, just after midnight. early Sunday morning. So nothing big going on there for now, but again, it's an area to watch, right? It's a great rift valley here that's been showing a lot of earthquake activity here recently. And eventually, I'm sure it's leading to something. The question is what? So we'll continue to watch that. For space weather activity here, we'll check out the sun. Probably not a 10% chance for X-flare. I have mine at 1%. I think it's a little bit less than that. If we look at the complexity models here, this one's starting to die off even more. Clear separation here of the core. Not really expecting much from that area. 3947, about ready to disappear off the western limb. Really not capable of much either. A massive area over here on the northeastern limb. Looking at it, it's a little hard to tell, but it looks a little bit more complex out of all the ones that are showing here on the Earth-facing side of the sun. So that's going to be 3959. That might harbor some active conditions here as we head into the week. Showing a little bit of flaring currently kicking up right now. Once that gets into a more Earth-directed view, then we'll talk about the flare potential out here. No major auroras there in the forecast for now. The moon, beautiful up there in the sky. If you got clear skies, 100% illumination. Full moon. All right, weather patterns out here. We'll check this out real quick, see what we have. A little bit of moisture coming in off the Gulf of Mexico into the southern states. Really not expecting much from that. Just some more colder air coming down from Canada here as we head towards next weekend. A lot of cold air dipping down and bringing with it some limited moisture, a little bit of snow out there. But aside from that, man, it's just I'm just trying to keep an eye here on the West Coast. Maybe towards the end of January we get the return of wet weather out here. I'm hopeful. Southern California, not so much, though. Those guys are unfortunately not looking good for any type of moisture headed their way. Current look at the fire conditions out here across Southern California. Primarily just the two big ones right now. The Palisades fire, which is at 23,000 acres as of this update, and the Eaton fire. The Palisades fire, see what we got here for containment. Oh, goodness. Looks like about 13% containment here. And it's a big area to cover in terms of calling this contained. As far as hot spots go, very minimal right now. Not a whole lot burning in terms of the satellite imagery picking up thermal areas. That's probably going to change tomorrow. We're getting some wind events out here. Some very strong winds expected across the area. So hopefully these guys are fighting this like crazy tonight before that wind kicks up. The Eaton fire, same thing in terms of hot spots. Only a little area up here around the Meadows area. Looks like a couple hot spots being detected. That is at 27% containment, 14,000 acres burned. That, again, could fire up once we get these winds coming in tomorrow. Hopefully they get this under control ASAP. But don't be surprised. I hope it doesn't, but don't be surprised we see more fires start up here tomorrow. A look at the windy map. Let's see where we're at. Windy right here. Wonderful map here. I use this. I actually pay for the premium version. It's well worth it. There's a lot of cool stuff you can look at and observe here on this model. Starting to get a little windy out here across my neck of the woods. I got the north wind drying. North wind out here in Northern California is very common, and it's very dry, and that doesn't help my cold conditions here, my whatever I got. So anyway, that's, as you can see, quite heavy off Northern California coast. Southern California, not so much right now, but again, that is going to be on the increase here tomorrow with some higher winds gusting offshore up around the Eaton Fire, 50-mile-per-hour winds, and down there across the Malibu area, that's going to fill in with some wind as well. It's going to be an off and on pattern here of some windy days and maybe some quieter days. Hopefully these guys get these fires under control before things start to ramp up there in the wind department. And it's so dry out here. It's unreal in Southern California. The drought is really soaking in there at the deeper levels and the surface levels. Super dry out here at the surface levels there across Northern California as well. So hopefully things change here. It's a little bit depressing to say the least, because I like to see the moisture content out here, and right now the models are not pointing towards anything significant in the in the near term or the extended forecast either. I was looking at the get off of there real quick. The Climate Prediction Center here with respect to the 8 to 14 day forecast. Well, this is the hazards here. Let me get off of that. Here we go. Below normal expected there for precipitation across the entire west coast. That's for the precipitation. Temperature wise, if we look here, a lot of cold air dipping down across the country. Weeks 3 to 4, we'll see if this plays out. Does show Northern California here in the above category potentially in terms of precipitation. Southern California not so much. I think it's going to be a brutal couple months here. Who knows what this could extend into summertime. Just no rain is not a good thing. Let's see what we got. Alaska, not too much going on up there for earthquake activity. Just kind of keeping an eye on things out here, folks. Definitely watch the West Coast. A lot of activity stirring up out here. Seismograph stations, pretty quiet. One little spike here, very thin spike on the China Lake station. But aside from that, no signs of any major earthquake activity for now. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning for the Monday. Yeah, it is Monday tomorrow. Monday morning update. Have a good one, folks. Stay safe out there. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll start feeling a little bit better here.